right, welcome back everybody to the OD VRML. I'm your host, Gibular Bob, joined today by the wonderful Retro Cat Rydell. Let me see if I can get your name fixed up there, Retro Cat. But how are you doing today?
Doing really well today. This is about to be a tournament of the century. I think we have up here Valiance versus. Hold on, let me get it.
Valiance
versus,
Interstellar OD.
Interstellar OD. It's gonna be a great match. I watched Valiance play in other tournaments I've watched, and they are just underdogs in these tournaments, just coming from the bottom straight from the top. They have that communication, they have that passing play, they just have everything that a team aspect should have in VRML or any competitive scene I've ever seen.
Yeah, and definitely, and this is all part of our very first tournament in the Orion Drift space for VRML, the Pioneer Cup. Obviously, we did not have this last week, but the week before, there were some technical bugs that really prevented us from getting the full NA experience through. We managed to get through APAC and EU, but NA, just a little bit too buggy to continue. But here we are, back once again. We've got an improved format. We've got a more organized setup, so here's hoping that today we'll give you a seamless, wonderful Pioneer Cup experience. And we're going to start off very soon here with Interstellar OD and Valiance. As RetroCat said, two very, very strong teams. Valiance, of course, playing in some previous tournaments as well. But let's really get into the nitty-gritty here. This is, of course, our very first Orion Drift tournament, the Pioneer Cup. For $1,000 split between the three regions, next up is going to be that Ignition Cup, the 31st of June, the 31st of May through the 1st of June. That's going to be for another $1,000. Definitely don't want to miss that one. But leading up will be the that leads up to the Phoenix Invitational, which is going to be held live on stage at VRMLCon 2025. It's going to be a phenomenal experience, one that you certainly do not want to miss by any means. And I think we are going to go ahead and get started here fairly soon. Valiance and everyone else loading into the lobby. But yeah, we've got a lot of really fun events planned here on our calendar, RetroCat. And I don't know, I think I'm personally the most excited for the Phoenix Invitational coming up.
Very excited for that too. It's going to be live in person. I'd buy tickets. For it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great event. And they're going to be competing for $5,000. You imagine how many ice creams you could buy with that. That's a lot of ice cream they could buy with $5,000. And just those top Orion Drift teams just playing in that VRML con is just going to be awesome. And on many other games.
Yeah, we've got a lot of really fun stuff planned, not just Orion Drift. Orion Drift is actually going to be the third and final day of the tournament. We've also got Pavlov, Onward, Veil, Breachers. A lot of really exciting games that are going to be held there. Great casters. It's going to be a tremendous VR event, one that you certainly do not want to miss. Just waiting on the teams to start right now. Not sure what we're waiting on, but perhaps we'll take a small intermission. When we come back, we will be starting off with Interstellar OD versus Valiance. And we are here with round one of Valiance versus Interstellar OD kickoff. And we've started. Valiance are going to be in the blue. Interstellar OD will be red. And the ball immediately tossed over to the side of the arena, heading down into the bunkers. Nugs is going to be chasing after that, but Plunge will maintain possession, keeping it over on the Valiant side, but it's heading right back to the Valiant's goal. Axon might have a shot here. It's a shot, but Plunge with the denial.
Plunge just really boomed that across the field. He's just going to be taking possession onto the other side as Neo's going straight up to the goal with a grand slam. 1-0. Valiant has put a point onto the board here, but let's see what Mr. Kermit the Frog here has in store as he's going straight up on the halo right here, gonna swoop straight back down. Going, is he gonna pass or is he gonna go straight for it? But just a deflective side from Valiant of them just saying no, and we're just gonna swoop it back onto their side. That was really incredible.
It's an air ball, but it is recovered by Interstellar OD, sent way back to the Valiant side. Gilby Kerman might have a shot here, and they take it, but it does not go in. Great defense by Valiant to start off their game. They're looking to build up some momentum. Big difference between this Pioneer Cup and the last time we had one for NA. It's a best of 3. So Valiants only need 2 games in this series to walk away into round 2 undefeated. So the stakes are a little bit higher this time around, RetroCat. The room for error much smaller, but already Plunged with another shot makes it a 3-0 game for Valiance. They're looking very comfortable right now.
This could be a mercy, Bob. I'm not really sure here, but I think both teams do have that defensive play. But I think Valiant is just the key to that offense play. But as you were seeing, as the ball is just going straight on the field, gonna chuck that in. It's gonna be 4-0. Just 2 more points to him. Mercy. Let's see what Kermit has in store as he's gonna go straight up on the halo right here, rushing crate, but just gets tackled by Plunge. Plunge taking possession on the ball straight up the tail. The ball is just in mid-air as they're just going to be catching that, going straight down onto the seal, right towards Bridge, rushing to the goal as they're just being battled at that bridge right now.
And Janu will have possession. Another shot onto the Interstellar OD goal. Valiant's now just 1 away from the mercy, and it has been quite the start for Valiant's dominant showing here in round number 1. Nugs takes the ball through the bunker, through the center of the arena, taking it up towards the bridge. Valiants were practicing just the day before. Janu with the shot on goal. It's a mercy to start off. Valiants take round number 1.
Valiant's just taking that W with that mercy. Gotta love that, Gallagher Bob. I'm telling you, they have that offensive play, they have that defensive play. Interstellar though, they do need to work on their offensive a bit, but their defensive play is pretty good a bit. If they keep that defensive play, they could hold Valiant at bay next game. But if they just have to just push, it's a game about pushing. You gotta push towards your enemies, you gotta tackle, you gotta find where you just need to just have that break to put those balls in the goal.
It's also worth noting that, well, Valiants are a team that thrives both on offense and defense. We did have a moment there where Interstellar had a potential shot on the Valiant's goal, but they were able to block it. And here we go with round number 2. And it is going to be the kickoff as we get started between Valiants and Interstellar OD. Reminder that Valiants only needs another win, and they are going to be clearing round number 1. Gilby Kermit taking it up to the sky, brings it over to the Valiant's goal, but it does not go in. Plunge sends the ball way back down to the other side. Nice little scuffle, but they actually do a little bit of re-grab tackle action to propel themselves ahead. Plunge still maintaining possession, sends it back over to the other side where Neko almost intercepts, but Shake the Dice was there, was prepared, and it's back in the hands of Valiants.
I'm saying Interstellar is stepping up their defensive play that game. or this game to the Valiants. The ball is just in control in the air right now as it's just going to get tackled right there. It's just going back and forth here. As it looks like they're just playing at this midfield point. Looks like Nugs does take possession of the ball. Sick little ceiling carve right there, gotta say. Ball is still going out of midfield. It's just a battle of midfield here, Bob, as they're going straight on the other side. Could this be in? Just great tackles from both plays from both sides here. Ball takes possession, rushing straight towards in. Could this be a shot in? Throwing it, hits the rim with a wicked save.
Nugs keeping it up in the sky, keeping it aggressive, and it bounces off the goal. Gilby Kermit sends it up in the air. It's intercepted by Nugs again. They're battling for control over it. Pass to Neko, pass back to Nugs, up to Plunge, and it does not go in. Another good defense from Interstellar OD, but can they survive the onslaught? Nugs keeps it up in the air, and there's the score. Valiants keeping it aggressive. Took them a little longer to get their first point this time, but they did put something on the board.
Yeah, they did take a little longer, like you said, and that's great that they're stepping up their defensive play now. Looks like right here they are going to be booming that across the board. Looks Neko is just taking possession of the ball, almost turning that in, going to hit the rim right there, but it's just going to be a dunk into the goal. All right, let's see how this kickoff this is right now, as we are at two points on the board by Valiants. Looks like he is going to be taking possession of the ball, going straight here. Going to be another great juke right there from Shark Dice. Going to be chucking that and hitting the rim right there. Yikes, that's got to hurt.
There's no I in team, but Shake the Dice tried to take it all the way to the goal on their own. Nugs keeps it over on the Valiant side, but is quickly looking to send it back to Interstellar's goal. Shake the Dice, denying it again, brings it close. Gilby Kermit goes for it, and there is the first point from Interstellar OD. They've finally put something on the board. 2 minutes, 10 seconds to tie it up with Valiant and potentially push for a lead here. It's not over for Interstellar yet, but they do still have some work to do.
They have some work they have to do indeed, but at least they do have that point onto the board. But speaking about points, Valiant's just bouncing that straight into the goal right there with 3-1 onto the board, Bob. Let's see how Shake the Dice could take this to 2-3 right here, as he's going to be casting that right to Kermit. Nice passing play right here, but just gets deflected by the defense of Valiant, as they're going to be showing. Could this be a long time to the goal? Oh, shit.
Unbelievable. What an incredible shot by Valiants to make it 4-1. Interstellar OD is not going to get shut out, but it is still quite the lead to come back from. Gilby Kermit loses control of the ball. Plunge, battling Shake the Dice, but it's up in the sky. Nobody has possession yet. Nugs sends it across the back. Jenu sends it to Neko, who brings it back over to the sky. It's a pass over to Plunge, who does get control. And it's up in the air, but who is going to get it when it comes down? Shake the Dice battling for Plunge. Jenu bumps it. It's up towards the nest. Plunge looks for possession, but Kermit sending it right back to mid-court.
Looks like Shake the Dice does take possession of the ball, but throws it straight to Neko right here, as he's taking possession of the ball right here. He's going to pass it straight to his teammates. Going to just boom that straight down. Nice backhand throw. Like backhand pass, actually, to his teammate. I just noticed that. But it looks like they are going to be taking possession as Nugs has possession of the ball, rushing straight out of the goal. Could this be a point? As he's going to pass that to his teammate, but it just doesn't really work as in their favors right now. Just giving that to Interstellar right now. We are still 4-1 at the points right here, as they're going to be throwing this at midfield. He's going to rush straight up on the halo. Could this be a point into the goal? Going to rush through. Just going to throw that into the goal.
5-1 for Valiants, and the time should be expiring here very, very soon. Our in-game clock expired. I think if it gets onto the ground, that could be it. Plunge goes for the last goal, and that is going to do it. Valiants take away this first series against Interstellar OD, 2-0. And what a showing, RetroCat. I gotta say, if Valiants can play through this entire tournament like that, they are gonna be a team to beat.
Yeah, they're like I said, they are just an unstoppable team when come to passing and just offense in general. But no, Interstellar did push up that game, really just locking in with their defensive play, and that's what I love. They had that in the goal, and they did get one goal that game, which just should be a pat on the back for them because Valiant was a pretty good team. So getting that 1 point and stepping on their defensive play is just incredible overall, Bob.
It is. It's certainly boding well for the rest of this, I'd have to say. It was a great showing. We do have a couple more games that do look to still be going on here in our server. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can catch another game midway through. But until then, don't go anywhere. We will be right back with more amazing OD VRML action.
Baron left alive. Where is Baron? In the spawn. And somebody
Spud in the bottom going absolutely crazy, getting the 2K.
Wow.
Baron in the spawn. Can somebody reinforce?
Spud in the bottom going absolutely crazy, getting the 2K.
Match point.
All right, everybody. We're still waiting on the teams to join the lobby, but we're now in round 2 of the Pioneer Cup here in the NA region. Once again, I'm Gibular Bob, my co-caster Retro Cat, and this matchup is going to be Ruin and IVNA. Little fun fact for you, Retro. IV won the EU tournament. Their EU team won. They won the EU region, so could history potentially repeat itself here in NA? Is that where we're leaning?
Yeah, history could repeat here, Bob. IVI-NA, formerly known as TTT now, it's just I've seen them play before. They're also a really great team as I saw them play in previous tournaments. But yeah, like that thing about, wouldn't it just be silly if like the EU counterpart won the championship in the NA? IVI would just be dominating the VRML scene here, Bob.
It would be a bit of a grand slam for IV. So we'll see if they can keep that momentum up, how well their NA team does. But I wanted to quickly remind everybody, just a big thank you to Another Axiom for helping sponsor this tournament. And we're also collaborating with them for 2 more tournaments. The Ignition Cup, May 31st through June 1st, and the Phoenix Invitational. The qualifiers will be the 27th through the 29th online, and the playoffs themselves will be live on stage on the 27th. That's for $5,000. Pretty chunk of change there for you, Retro. The Ignition Cup, let's talk a little bit about that. The registration will be opening very, very soon. And that's, again, going to be for another $1,000 cash prize split between the 3 regions. So a lot of really fun action starting here very, very soon. I'm certainly loving the collaboration, really, between VRML and Orion Drift, because really the action that we've seen has been just unforgettable, Retro.
Yeah, it does have that aspect. I just really love the competitive play about this. Just that, like, teamwork building. In these 4v4 arenas, it's not about soloing here. It's about getting that teamwork in with your other teammates and just the communication in general. Like, you need that offensive play, but you also need that defensive play. And that's what's fun about this. It's just watching these 2 teams just brawl against this ball, just trying to score into goal and just win overall.
Yeah, and I certainly hope we see some of these teams make an appearance at VRMLCon, because that is going to be, the stakes are going to be even higher there. It's going to be an incredible bout, and especially because, well, today is only the first of 2 days for EU. Tomorrow, we're going to be resuming everything at the same exact time, 6 o'clock EST. And we are going to cover the second day of NA. Now, there's going to be 8 teams that are selected at the end of this day, depending on their performance. And they are going to compete tomorrow in a 3-round round robin tournament. So everybody's going to play against each other. The 2 teams that do the best in the round robin are going to be, the 4 teams that do the best in the round robin are going to move on to the semifinals, where they're going to play against each other, and then it's all going to culminate in the grand finals between the 2 teams that won the semis for that cash prize. If APAC and EU told us anything, it's that final best of 7 is just going to be incredible. So definitely make sure you tune in for today. We still have, 6 more rounds. We're working on round number 2, but we go all the way up to 7 right now. If you want to follow along with the scores and who's performing best, you can go to the VRML Orion Drift website, take a look at the Pioneer Cup page, and then look at the Challenge Swiss Tournament bracket. And you can see everything, and it updates live, so it should be, it's a great little tool to track where your favorite teams are. But yeah, I think without further ado, we're going to go ahead and go back to a short intermission this time. It's not going to be as long as last time, and we are going to go ahead and get ready to see IV and Ruin. right, didn't have to wait too long, Retro, as we get started here with round number 1 between Ivy and Ruin. Ivy are going to be in the blue, Ruin taking to the red side. And already there's a goal for IVNA. What a way to start.
A way to start indeed here, Bob. Just that was just incredible of a play. Looks like they are going to be taking that straight up the bridge right over here. They are just going to be knocking that straight down to the field, going straight up the goal here. But throws that into the goal.
And it's sent back over to Rev Dave, who's bringing it close to the IV goal. Just looking for a little bit. Oh, excuse me. That's the wrong arena. I accidentally cut over the wrong one, but there we go. And we're looking at Grim Kid right now with possession of it.
Let's keep track here. I think IVI does have the first point onto the board here as I saw them slam that into the goal. Looks like Biggles is taking possession with a nice pass play, but just gets blocked right there at the goal. Gotta love that. Looks like Mr. Nadash is going to be taking possession, going to be throwing that back at the Mozzie. Mozzie's going to take that straight up in the air as he's just going to be sealing carved to the ball. Put his hand with the grand slam! 2-0 here, folks.
Oh, IV certainly not pulling any punches. It's very reminiscent of what we just saw from Valiance. And here's Piggles again with a shot on goal. Sinks in for IV. They're 3 points up on Ruin. Good, comfortable lead to work with here in round 1. And not even 2 minutes have fully passed yet.
Looks like Rush is really still rushing into this game. I really think they could get a couple of points onto the board here. Scrimtid is taking possession of the ball, trying to juke, but just Nadash just slapping that out of his hand back there as he does take possession of the ball, going straight in. Willispian with a grand slam, just getting these goals left to right. They're just, wow.
Left and right, up and down. IV are quite literally on fire. They might want to save that for Ignition Cup, but a ball up in the sky. Nadash with the pass back over. It's a long shot on goal, and it sinks in. IV are vicious with this lead. Just one more, and it's already going to be a mercy for IV and Ruin, and it's there's a lot of work for Ruin to do. The ball heading back over towards the Ruin goal. Mozzie takes it up. It's blocked by Ruin. Starkey with it in the sky, passing it, kicking it back out to Nadash. Here comes the shot on goal, but it's intercepted by Ferry. Ruin looking to keep it away from their goal, but Ivy not having any of that, and it's a battle for control of the ball in the corner. Starkey looks to collect it, but it's a battle with Grim Kid, and it's kicked back out to center.
Kid just boom across the field back there, but it looks like Nadash is taking possession of the ball, going under sewer, rushing straight to the goal. Could this be another play? Straight to the goals, go straight back, just throwing that back out with that defensive play from Rush. Now I gotta say, Bob, they do have the defensive play a little bit, but that was just a brilliant goal overall.
It was, that was another open and shut first game, Retro. Ivy looking dominant for the first round against Ruin, and we're seeing this trend where really aggressive teams are able to make it work. You, of course, have to have a good defense, but I think IV's success can be linked to the fact that the ball never really went anywhere near their goal the entire time.
Yeah, I gotta say, that round, Ivy just did not let them take a breather. Just really punishing them back there, Bob, with just them constantly tackling, constantly getting in order. As you guys were just watching that back there, just a lot of that lineup and pass play was just brilliant. They just knew where to go. And that's just the best thing about this game. It's just the teamwork here is just back and forth with that and getting those goals in. Passing is the key to 4v4s.
And immediately into round number 2 we go. Grimkid with possession brings it all the way across towards the IV goal, but it's blocked. Fairy tried to recollect it, but it did not work. Nadash now has possession. It's a shot on goal, but Mozzie misses. Back to Piggles. Oh, what a corner shot. Little hook shot right into the goal there for IV. With, again, another lead here in this second round. One more win, Retro, and it's going to IV.
Yeah, one more win indeed, and they will just be taking this round. But it looks like we have them just tackling in this corner right there, as they do have possession of the ball. Throwing that in, could this be another goal? Just a long shot into that goal. Let's see how Grimkid can take this in the next round here, as he's going to be straighting up. Just a push. The ball's just open like that, but he just comes back for it. It's just, wow, Ivy's just not letting him take a break right here. Just constant pressure, Bob, as you're just looking at this.
Grimkid is getting double teamed by Ivy. Players not even able to get the ball out in the midfield. And Ivy with possession, look to send it back down to the middle, but Fairy with a good block to keep Ruin in this game just a little bit longer. It's a good 2-0 lead for Ivy. Still plenty of time left in this. We'll see if Ruin can put some points on the board. They had a tough first round, but as we saw in Valiance versus Interstellar, Interstellar had their moments as well, but Ivy with a hat trick, a 3-0 lead, and Ruin are in quite a bit of trouble.
The 3-0 lead indeed. Ruin is in trouble right here, Bob. They are going to be rushing towards that goal onto their side. It is on their side at this time, as Piggle just booming that straight across the field. Could this be in? The ball is just going everywhere right now, as it's going to be taken possession by Mozzie. Just getting that play. Could this be a pass up, as the geometry is not working in their favor? Grimkid rushing straight to the goal. Could this be a first point for them? But just getting tackled by Piggles here, as he's just going to be taking that straight up into the air onto the other side.
And Nadash, nobody's defending. The goal is open. And IV are just going to let themselves in. Grimkid again moving the ball. And Nadash will not leave them alone. Up in the sky, Grimkid has to contend with a tackle. They've got, again, 2 IV defenders on them. Piggles keeps it up in the sky, sending it right back over towards the Ruin goal. Fairy now up in the sky trying to get a shot on the IV side, and Grimkid will collect, but it's a scuffle in the bunker. Captured by Fairy, who keeps it up in the nest, but it's sent and intercepted by Ivy once more. Mozzie almost had it, but in the end, Nadash is going to be the one to get the score. Here we go. One more Retro, and it's going to be a shutout, a complete shutout by Ivy.
Yeah, what I've really noticed is I think Ruin does need to have that just stay back play if they want to have this against IVI. And somebody is currently at goal right now, but it looks like they are going to be rushing straight up to the goal, just going to slam that in. Brutal, Bob. Just brutal. IVI taking the W.
It is certainly a fast game by IV. They gave us 2 in and out rounds, 6-0, actually doing a little bit better than Valiance. At least Interstellar were able to score in that matchup, but while we're seeing our first bit of brutality here in this tournament, Retro, and I wonder what the rest of this event has in store for us. We're going to go ahead, cut to a potentially short, potentially long intermission. If we have any other games to play in our current server, we're going to be right back with those. Otherwise, we're going to have to wait until round number 3 generates. So don't go anywhere. Grab a snack. We'll be back soon with more amazing VRML Orion Drift action. we've returned with the third round of Shock OD and Face. And I'm once again with Retro Cat. Hopefully we got the teams in the right order, but quite the score from Face to start us off here, Retro.
Yeah, I've personally seen Face play before. Most of these teams I've seen play. Face is just that brilliant team here. But the other team, Shock, is also pretty brilliant. Looks like Hi-Bi is taking possession of the ball, going straight up to Ness. Could this be a quick score? Oh, but just gets saved by Reality. That was just incredible save right there. Just that high upper save as they are rushing towards the other side. As Vader is taking possession of the ball, just looking for that passing play. Gonna hit that in. They're just playing a little risky here. Is he gonna boom that across the field? He is, Bob. He's gonna be booming that across the field.
3 big booms right across the field. It's up in the sky, intercepted by Cheat Eyes, and it's in. Shock OD score their first point in this third round. If you're just joining us, both of these teams have won a game, so this is for all the marbles, Retro. Whoever wins this is going to move on, potentially undefeated, as the ball kicked back out into center. Vader looking to keep that in control of by Face. Keeps it up in the sky, sent back across where 3 Big Mac will have control, but Alfredo passing it back, and right now it's anybody's game.
With these names, Bob, I'm sure getting hungry. But looks like they are taking possession of the ball, going straight up into goal. It's gonna be thrown in. Shock with another point. Let's see how this play goes. This is a great tactic, as you guys are seeing. They're gonna let that ball stay out, but they're gonna gain that speed. I've been seeing this a lot, where they just have that speed, and that speed is just the key here. They're gonna be throwing that straight down. Vendor is gonna be taking that, throwing that straight. It's just gonna be straight. The Big Mac. Could this be a long shot? Oh,
Eventually.
Could this be? Oh, just get saved by
Hi-Bi keeping it alive for Face. He's got a little bit of work to do, since Shock OD keeping a 1-point lead over them right now. Hi-Bi keeps it up in the sky. Little rhyme there. 3 Big Mac keeping it on the red side. On the Shock side, collecting some boosts. They may have a shot on goal here. Passed over to Alfredo up in the sky. It's another shot and another score for Shock OD. Face. Well, they took an early lead, but now they're in a little bit of trouble.
A little bit of trouble indeed. Let's see how this plays, Bob, as they're going to be throwing this across the field onto Shock's side as they are taking possession of the ball, rushing straight up. Oh, just getting hit back and forth by Hi-Bi, just really punishing them as Vader with a wicked regrab right there. Not really playing that out. They're going to be rushing straight up to the goal. Could this be in? Oh, just hitting that rim up the clock as Alfredo takes possession of the ball, rushing straight back down onto the other side. Let's see how he plays this. Going to be gaining that speed, gaining that boost. Going to throw this in, but just a boom straight back onto the other side.
Vader running it up the alley, but Chitties will be the first one to reach the ball, and they take it on quite the spree. It's going to go in. What a long shot by Chitties to keep this Shock OD team with a healthy lead. Hi-Bi keeping it up in the sky once more. They go for another shot on the goal. It's almost in, but Face denied by Shock. Vader has possession, but they lose it to Alfredo. Yeah, I'm getting hungry just reading off some of these names as well. Battle in the corner. Face looking to recover and keep it back over on the Shock OD side, but Alfredo goes for the shot on goal. It's denied by Vader. Sent right up to 3 Big Mac, and it's in for Shock OD.
Booming that in. Looks like Hi-Bi is going to be taking possession here, folks, as he's going to go looming up to the other side, going straight up to the 3 Big Macs here. He's going to be throwing that right back down to the midfield. They are playing this a little risky here, just playing it on their side, I think, but just overall, I think Shock is just doing really good here, as they're going to be playing this straight up on the here. Going to throw that right back down to Alfredo. Alfredo takes possession, but just knocked off.
And it's a scuffle. Vader keeping it up in the air. but they do get tackled by Shock OD. 3 Big Mac with a shot, but it bounces off of the Halo, and now there's a battle for it. It's heading right back over, but we are out of time in this series, and it is going to go to Shock OD. An incredible performance, and that is going to be their series win against FaceFace. I gotta say, it was a strong way to close out the series, Retro.
I gotta say, FaceFace in the beginning of the game just dominated. They were doing really good, and I just think with overall, it was just a pretty close game with skill levels here. But I just think that Shock just had that upper value in that offensive play and that defensive play that round. And that's what you have to love. They just stepped up and they just took that win. Taking it indeed.
And there you have it. What a way to end off this second round here for C Stream. And there's going to be plenty more action to come. Remember, we're still only on our second round, but now we're getting ready for round 3 of our Swiss tournament. Still plenty of teams left here. A lot of people in contention for those top 8 spots. Don't go away, though. When we come back, we'll be in round 3, and we'll have some incredible action to deliver to you. So until then, don't go away. We'll be back very soon.
Baron left alive. Where is Baron? In the spawn. Can somebody reinforce?
Spud in the bottom going absolutely crazy, getting the 2K.
Match point.
we're here with Tax and Subpar. And we're going to kick off just about now. Already with RTB7 up in the sky, and it's a score for Tax right off the bat. Retro.
Tax just showing them right here. Looks like they are gaining speed. Whoa, look at that regrab, Bob. Looks like they're going to be zooming that in, going straight up to the goal. Nice pass play right there. Just zooming. Woo! Bob, did you just see that play at that beginning?
Formula quiet right there. RTB7 bringing it over towards their side. Here comes a little regrab action, I think. It's up in the sky by the halo, but Oak Solution, their solution is to get the ball in the goal. It's a score for Tax. Sorry, it's a score for Subpar. There we go.
Yeah, looks like Subpar is in the lead right now as RTB7 takes possession of the ball, going straight up from Bridge. Could this be a grand slam on the ball? Just really hitting that rim right there. Yikes, that's gotta hurt. Looks like Quits is taking possession of the ball, going straight up to Tax's goal right here. Rushing straight in, just going fast. Supersonic speed, straight in, Bob!
Unbelievable comeback there from Subpar. And already we're looking at Tax moving the ball down the court, up in the sky, quiet. A little interception there, sends it back down towards the Tax side, and Kiwi is going to be the one to score it. Subpar with another goal on Tax.
I really think that if Tax really wants to get some points onto the board, they might need to have to step up their defensive play here. Maybe somebody at goal right there taking play. Looks like Kiwi is trying to knock that in, but almost get that in as RTB7 takes possession of the ball, rushing straight towards in, but just Subpar punishing Tax right here as it is going underground right here. RTB7 throwing it back to his teammate, going straight up onto the board, going back to Quits.
RTB7, I like that little piratey action going on there. Quiet, bringing it down the alley towards the Tax goal. It does not go in yet. Kiwi up in the sky. RTB kicks it back out right in the hands of Quiet. It's another score for Subpar. That's really been turning up the heat here in this matchup. Both of these teams 1-1. This could get them out of the weeds as we move further through the Pioneer Cup standings.
I would say, Bob, Subpar is not turning up the heat. They're freaking boiling right now with these scores. Kiwi is taking possession of the ball right here. Gonna throw that straight in, almost to the goal. Oh, just that defensive play from Tax. Like Quint is going to be taking possession of the ball, going to zoom straight up. Could this be in? Going up for the air ball, straight into the goal for Subpar.
And there you have it. Tax need to keep it in the sky, up on the halo. Look at the speed. Good wall, good ceiling carve. It's in. Tax score another point against Subpar. Not a whole lot of time left in this game, and Subpar have quite the lead. Look at Kiwi darting through the middle. Look at the regrab. Oh my goodness. What an incredible shot by Kiwi, and the speed between these two teams is astronomical. This is some of the fastest gameplay we've seen all evening.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. Speaking of fast, it looks like Jack Newton is going to be taking possession of the ball. Can he clutch this up? Going right back to Kiwi. Going straight on the halo right here. Going to be zooming, but just takes out by here. As they're just going to be taking that. Kiwi's going straight up to the goal right here. Going to pass that on to his teammate. Just a whole of Royal rumbles right here towards the goal. Just almost hitting that. The RTB7 just booming it across the field to midfield. But a catch from Jack Newton. But Jack Newton's going to...
Wow. Wow. Subpar with a round number 1 win against Tax. And that was some lethal action there, Retro. Really from both sides. That's definitely one of the most fun games we've had of our stream so far.
Very, 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 very much. Looks like they are just be showing that skill. But Tax does have that. I think they can get this in the bag right here. They do have that speed. They do have that regrab. They just need to up their defense. And if they up their defense, I think they could take a win here, Bob.
Absolutely. They've got the capacity to win. We've definitely seen that they have what it takes to tango with subpar. The question is, can that turn into some success here as we get started with round number 2? And we're off with the ball kicked out immediately into the hands of Oak Solution, who's going for a shot on Cole. Subpar already scoring retro. Nobody from Tax was anywhere near the goal. I think they are actually playing with a player down, and you can feel it against Subpar because they're just so aggressive, and we're not seeing the best defense from Tax right now.
I have to say the defense is coming off because, like you did say, they are down a player, so it could just be loosening them and just making them more scared about this. But talking about scared, going straight into the goal right here. Let's see how this kickoff is. As Ignite and RTB7 is taking possession of the ball, going straight out with a regrab, going straight down to the field, but just getting swooped, hitting him like no. We see they are down here on the play right here, going taking that up. As Quit is taking this grand slam to the goal.
Another point for Subpar. Remember, it is a best of 3 game. That means if Subpar win this round, they're going to win the entire series. And Tax are really feeling the pressure right now. I think they're actually 4v2ing against Subpar, which is certainly quite the challenge. And yeah, numbers advantage right there. Jack Newt scores 1 in, and Subpar really just have perfect positioning. 4-0, 2 more, and it's going to be that Subpar series win.
Looks like long shot into the goal for Subpar. Oh, it is getting really all right, looks like Ignite is taking possession of the ball, rushing straight up onto there, but loses control, going straight up to Quit. Just in this end game here, like Quit is taking possession of the ball, going straight up. Could they get a couple more points onto the board for Tax? They're going to be throwing that straight. That great passing play doesn't really get the pass right.
Oak Solution tossing it over to Quiet, and have Tax given up? It looks like they have, and it is going to be a 6-0 shutout from Subpar to give them the series win. They're going to move on in this Pioneer Cup, no longer neutral in their standings. They're going to go positive once more, 2-1. They've won 2 games and they've lost once, so they may have a shot depending on how many teams eventually find a loss in this tournament. It's only round 3 though. Still have 4 more rounds to go. Don't go away, because when we come back, we'll have either another exciting driftball game going, or we'll be in the 4th round of this Pioneer Cup. We'll be back in a jiffy.
Baron left alive. Where is Baron? In the spawn. Can somebody reinforce?
Spud in the bottom going absolutely crazy, getting the 2K.
Match point. Prepare to
Only
start.
Baron left alive. Where is Baron? In the spawn. Can somebody reinforce?
Go.
Spud in the bottom going absolutely crazy, getting the 2K.
Match point.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is our once more little pre-show before we start this match between Subpar and Control. You might recognize Subpar from our previous round retro, where they faced off against Tax, and they actually won that game, and they've moved on. They're now 2-1, and Control is also 2-1. Let me see if I can quickly find who they faced in the previous round. They faced off against Sleepy and won, but the team they lost to was in the first round. They lost to Fusion. Interesting. So both these teams on equal standings right now, and they're battling it out for supremacy, and we'll see who has a shot at what is becoming a very short list of teams that are eligible to get into the action tomorrow for day 2. Currently, Retro, there's only 6 teams that are still completely undefeated. That's Cairo, Valiance, Void, Vicious, Crane Gang, and IVNA. So do you think either Subpar or Control have a shot at potentially making it to the round robin tomorrow?
so. Like we said, we watched Subpar last game and just wicked phenomenal speed from them. Regrabbing, communication, control, knowing where they are. Have not seen anything from control. So they could just knock us out of the ballpark, Bob. They could just be the greatest of the great here. We don't really know their skill level here. So it's going to be a surprise. Could this be a game where it's like, Subpart wins, takes the win, or could control really show them this game? That's what I'm really looking forward to.
I think both teams are going to be pretty competitive in this matchup, so especially with the stakes here, because the opportunity to make it into the event tomorrow is starting to really get thin. We're in round number 4, so we are at kind of the halfway point of this event. And you know, we've only got just a couple more, and then we're going to have our final teams, but we are going to start with round number 1 in this game between Subpar and Control. I think it may have potentially bugged a bit. Looks like they're sending it back towards me. Okay, there we go. We're going to attempt number 2, Retro, as we see Control in the blue and Subpar in the red. And we're off. Round number 1 in this series. Quiet. Looking to grab the ball off of Reactor and moving through the middle of the arena, taking up towards the Halo Dwagon with the interception to give the ball back to Control early.
Looks like they are at this midfield line. Looks like Reactor does have taken possession of the ball. Gonna backhand throw that, but that's just gonna go straight up to Quiet as he's rushing straight towards the goal. Speed is the key! Going in with the first point from Subpar.
Nice early start for Subpar, getting that 1-point lead. Again, we previously saw them go up against Tax, so we're starting to follow their story a little bit through this tournament. Kiwi bringing it down the center through the alley. Ooh la la ooh is taking it down under the bunker, bringing it back towards the Subpar goal. Tossed up to Dwagon, who keeps it in the sky on the bridge, and they lose control a little bit. Ractor keeps it and passes it to Belly Flops. Shot on goal. And Control have just scored their first point.
Right place, right moment. They knew where they were going, and they scored that. All right, looks like they're going to be wrapping that up. Getting that speed. Jack. Jakai has possession of the ball, throwing it down. Nice play to Quiet quits right here. Going right back to say, ow, right in. Oh, knocking with his head with that save, Bob. Yikes.
Very nice save indeed. Keeping Control in the game a little bit longer. Pass over to Quiet Oak Solutions with a tackle onto Belly Flops. Jack and Newt keeps it in the sky. Pass over to Quiet. Ooh la la ooh. Sends it off into the middle. And it's anyone's game at this point. Oak Solutions lost control of it. Battle in the bunker. Belly Flops emerges victorious. Bringing it back down towards the Subpar goal, but instead possession will go to Dwagon, and Control are maintaining a very nice control over the ball.
They do have that passing play. I love the passing play that they have here from both teams. It looks like Quit is going to be booming that straight down the field. Reactor almost jumping up to get that ball. Could be Quit is going straight in. Going to slam that straight into the goal. Belly Flops. Let's see how you play this. Belly Flops taking possession of the ball, going to be jumping straight up on the bridge, on the Halo, going with that nice little undercarve right there from Halo. Going to pass that straight up to his teammate, but just gets intercepted by Kiwi, and Kiwi's going to throw it down. Could this be a long shot? Oh, just hits the rim.
Barely missing the goal, and it's quite lucky for Control, because if nobody was there and it was just a little bit more to the right, that would have been another score for Subpar, who have a very decent lead, 2-1 over Control. They can keep this for another minute 50. They'll take home round 1 in this game. Belly Flops keeps it up in the sky. Ragator with a pass over to Quiet, and battle on the bridge as Kwai takes it up into the sky, and a scuffle in the alley. It's sent across the court to Jack and Newt.
If the other team
and
isn't here, please go to the Discord, submit forfeit scores.
There you go. Dwagon with possession. Oak Solutions again keeping it away from Subpar's goal. And Control. It's just kind of a stalemate here, Retro.
Just back and forth, back and forth. But don't worry, they'll break the ice eventually, Bob. As they are just be playing at this ground level. Looks like it's just going to go straight onto their side. Looks like Quint is taking possession of the ball. Going straight out, going to be booming that across the field. Is there somebody there going to oh la la? As he takes possession of the ball, going straight up towards just the geometry here. Could this be in? Throwing it straight up the clock. Just doesn't really get that. It's just back and forth here, Bob. Just back and forth.
And Dwagon leaving the ball for Kiwi to take possession of. Interesting. Subpar with the assault on the Control goal. Kiwi once again with possession, bringing it up towards the bridge, and a nice tackle from Belly Flops. They flop right on to Subpar's player, and Quiet is going to be the one to score, giving Subpar a 3-1 lead. Only 10 seconds left to go. Not a whole lot of time for Control.
10 seconds. We are in. This is the end game. Oh la la takes possession of the ball. Is he going to slam that in? Is he going to touch the ground? Oh, Quits does take possession of the ball. Going straight up onto the air. Going to go straight up. The Nash going to be chucking that straight down the field. Good to his teammate. The ball touched the ground. Oh, they are just playing keep away up in the ground. And this feels just like volleyball here. Jack Newt does take possession of the ball, rushing straight to the goal. Will they get another point on the board? Could this be a grand slam in? Going straight down. Ball's in the air. Oh, just gets caught by Belly Flop. Belly Flop's taking possession of the ball. This ball will not touch the ground, Bob.
And just a reminder for anybody in chat, if you're new to Orion Drift, there's the spike, and it's going to be Subpar's win in this round. It was in the air for so long, Retro, and I thought that maybe we could have seen one more goal from Control before the end of that, but it didn't quite happen. However, Subpar with a very, very nice opening. You can't make the argument anymore that against Tax, it was a 4v2, so it was unfair for Tax, but against a team with an equal record, both of these teams are 2-1, Retro, Subpar still did a good job.
They did really good this round with their offensive play and their defensive play. I really think if this other team I think they do need to work on their defensive play more and their offensive play. And I think they can have this in the bag, but I cannot wait to see this next game, Bob.
And it's going to kick off right now as we get started into round 2. Again, this is a best of 3 format. So that means if Subpar can win this round as well, they're going to bump Control down to a 2-2 record for round 4. Dwagon takes it up into the sky. Control is eager to not let Subpar ruin their shot at the top 8 standings in the round robin tournament tomorrow. Down in the bunker is Jack Newt. Brings it up towards the bridge. Pass over, but Belly Flops with a very nice up pass to their teammate, denying the ball from the goal. Quiet. Oh, almost had the shot there. A little bounce saves Control just a little bit longer. Belly Flop up in the sky. They're going to look to pass over to one of their teammates. Control looking a little bit better in this round. It's up in the sky. I think just a little bit out of position was Ooh. And Belly Flops keeps it on the Control side. Kiwi with the interception sends it back across. And it's going right back into the hands of Subpar.
All right. Looks like Jack Newt is taking possession of the ball. But Jack Newt's going to score that into the goal. Subpar with a point onto the board. Let's see how Ooh La La takes this into his hands as he's taking possession of the ball. He's going to be jumping up here, just dribbling it, just right here, going straight up on the tailor. Is he going to pass? He's going to pass straight to his teammate on the midfield point, but Kiwi's just blocking it in the way, going to the reactor. Hopefully his reactor core does not fail here as he's going to throw. Oh, Kiwi just taking these balls left and right. Well, almost in. But going back to Ooh La La.
Ooh la la, ooh. I think it might just be la la, but in any case, I'm gonna keep saying ooh la la. The ball up in the sky, pass to Dwagon. Ooh la la, ooh, will get possession. Shot on goal, blocked by Jack Newt. Very nice from Subpar. They're playing a good defense in this second round. There's 2 minutes 50 seconds on the clock. Kiwi up in the sky, pass over to Quiet, who goes for the backhand shot. It does not go in, though. And that's really the defense we need to see from Control if they want to stay competitive in this matchup. They're not giving Subpar the opportunity to get a ton of free scores on their goal.
Looks like he's taking possession of the ball right here, almost getting in here. Looks like they are just playing at this bridge right now. This is a really battle. Oaks takes possession of the ball, gonna boom that straight down to the field. Oh, just gonna hit that rim. Who's gonna be taking that? It's gonna be taking that indeed is Ooh La La, rushing straight into there, passing it straight to Jack Newt. What's Jack Newt's plan? He's gonna chuck that down the field to his teammate, get the intercepted right here, going straight back up. Ooh La La trying to get possession, going straight towards the goal on it, but just loses that control. Control loses that control.
Losing control of the ball is, it's kind of going against the name of the team there. Dwagon sending it back out towards the nest, where Ooh La La Ooh does manage to grab it, but they're in a bit of a scuffle with Jack Newt over on the right bridge. Up in the sky we go. Kiwi with possession, and look, they're double teamed in the halo by Control. Shot on goal, and it's in! Control find their first point in this second round. This is giving them a shot to beat Subpar. They're currently tied. 1:15 left on the clock, and now the pressure's on for Subpar to keep their lead up, lest Control find a round of their own.
Oh boy, Bob, we are in this end game here. Looks like Jack is taking possession of the ball right here. Gonna go to Ooh La La. Ooh La La saying no with that defensive play. Just really catching these. Gotta say, I really think Control does have this play on defense this round. Looks like Kiwi is trying to go in to intercept that ball right here as the Wagon's trying to take that on the clock here. Belly Flop's taking possession on the ball, going straight up onto the midfield line. It is the battle of midfield. Could this be in? Oh, just hitting that. Oh, Belly Flop pushing it out with that defensive play, curving straight up. Gonna throw that across the field, right back to Jack Newt. Back in 4.
Kiwi tossing it over to their teammate. Quiet. Belly Flops with another interception, though, is going to get the shot on goal, and it almost goes in. But Subpar just barely managed to block it. A little bit of regrab action preventing Oak Solutions from getting tackled. They're going to go for the shot on the goal, and it misses, but they get it in. Kiwi with the assist to give Subpar a lead with just only a few seconds left on the clock. Now, Control aren't out of this yet. If they can keep this ball in the air. Oh, no, they get bumped. Oh, that's terrible timing. And Subpar are going to get this entire series win over Control. They're going to move forward 3-1 in this Swiss tournament. Great game between those two teams, Retro.
Say something. I think Control really, like, the last round when we saw Subpar, they were dominating. But I think Control really held them at bay this round. They had that good defensive play, and I think they really did good. I think they did excellent against Subpar, which, as we've seen, is just a dominant team. Subpar doing amazing, defensive-wise, offensive-wise, brilliant match just to see, Bob.
It is. It was a lot of fun because the teams were not. It was not like it was a complete shutout. You know, round number 1, 3-1. Round number 2, 2-1. I mean, it really got down to the end there, but I think the ball just got away from that Control player and it went on the ground. And in Orion Drift, the round does not end until the ball itself touches the ground. So that's what's kind of spelled the fate of Control in the end. They lost. If they kept the ball in the air, they had the potential to tie that up and then move forward in overtime. But such a thing did not happen. And, well, it's going to move subpar on through the rest of this tournament. Control, they're going to have to contend with the 2-2. I don't know if that puts them in contention to make it to the round robin tomorrow. I think that may put them out because there are going to be a number of other really, really strong teams. But hey, you know, we still have 3 more rounds, Retro, and I wouldn't count anyone out just yet. But in any case, we're going to go ahead, cut to intermission, and we'll be back with probably round 5 of this Pioneer Cup. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon.
Where is Baron? In the spawn. Can somebody reinforce?
Spud in the bottom going absolutely crazy, getting the 2K.
Match point. Prepare to
Only
start.
Baron left alive. Where is Baron? In the spawn. Can somebody reinforce?
Go.
Spud in the bottom going absolutely crazy, getting the 2K.
Match point.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Orion Drift VRML Pioneer Cup for day 1 of NA. We're here with the Orionos versus the Scrap Runners, getting ready here for round number 1 in this series. And off we go. The Orionos are going to start in the red side, and the Scrap Runners will be your blue team. Pebbles bringing it down the middle for an early shot on goal, but it's immediately rejected by the Orionos. Good start from both of these teams, but it's a scuffle in the middle. Peanut bringing it around the goal for the Scrap Runners. And Blood Moon getting ready for the shot on goal, and it's almost in, but not quite. It is rejected by the Scrap Runners and sent right back down the middle.
Looks like Peanut is taking possession of the ball here, but loses control right there. Speaking about losing, gaining it, the ball is just in midair right now. They're rushing the dynamic. It's going to be, almost hitting that from clock right there. It's going to be just a brilliant thing to see here. Almost in there. Oh, with a slap in! Yikes. That is perfect. Perfect goal.
Nice start from the Orionos. They're certainly here to play, and Scrap Runners are going to have to fight to respond. We have Tony Go passing to Peanut, looking to bring it over towards the Orionos' goal. Tony Go, with a little bit of lag, loses control over the ball. It's back down the center. Peanut looks to bring it, kick it back outside, and now back inside. Goes for the shot on goal, but it's rejected once more by the Orionos. They're going to have another go at it, carving the ground, steering, and they're just tackled by the Orionos, and Scrap Runners' hopes of getting that score just went down the drain.
Looks like Blood Moon does have possession of the ball. Let's really hope that the Scrap Runners don't end up in the recycling bin. Looks like they are taking possession of the ball right here. They're just rushing up as they're going to go. Could this be in? Just back and forth play from here on to the Scrap Runner side. Looks like Dynamic is going in. Could this be a goal into the bouncing straight up onto the rim right there? But speak about bouncing onto the rim, a pass right there and a score into the goal.
And the Orionos with a very nice 2-0 lead. Great way to start off their first round. Scrap Runners need to bring it back. They've got 2 minutes 40 seconds, so plenty of time to correct their trajectory, but they certainly don't want to be scrapped at this point in the competition. Little update for you. We've been steadily eliminating some of the bottom teams as time has gone on, and we're actually going to have 6 rounds instead of the full 7. So the pressure's really on now, Retro, because these teams only have this round and next round, and then we're going to get our final 8 teams for tomorrow's round robin. There's only 3 more undefeated teams. I think after this round, we'll only have just a few teams that haven't lost a single game. But if you're Scrap Runners and the Orionos, their chances of getting to that point are running out. And so this is going to be a pretty intense competition.
Intense. But speaking of intense, they're speaking... almost in right there. Almost getting that from here. It looks like they are going to... That's denying damage. Is taking control of the ball. Ceiling carving, wall carving across there. Going to pass that straight to his teammate, trying to get around here. Going to be throwing that up. It's just a battle with the ball back and forth, really punishing them as Great Blues does take possession of the ball, throwing it straight up, but it's just going to be catched from the Rhinos, part of the Rhinos side.
Across the court it goes into the blue corner of the Scrap Runners, and Orionos may have another shot on goal manifest itself very soon. Blank user VR actually got in a little bit of a fight with random CBH, and several tackles going on up in the air leaves Peanut to lose control of the ball down in bunker. Tony Go, and everybody's on top of Random there, but it manages to get out towards the Scrap Runners' goal. Random keeping it up in the air. Orionos have a shot. They take it, but it does not go in.
Oh boy. Let's see this as Dynamic Dice does take possession of the ball, throwing that straight up to Mr. Moonblood right here. He's taking possession of the ball. He's going to be taking that up to Mr. Moonblood. Going straight up to the goal. Goodness, he's going to slam that straight in. Wow, the rhinos are rushing in like a pit of rhinos. But let's see how Tony Go has this in the bag. He's going to throw that straight over to his teammate trying to get that pass in, gonna go straight up to Dynamic. Dynamic is gonna rush in like a rhino. Oh, but just catching it straight from there from Peanut. Gonna go straight out as they are just pushing at this just bridge point right here.
And time expires. The Rhinos take their first win of this best of 3 series with one more retro. And the Scrap Runners are gonna say goodbye to their chances of qualifying for the round robin tomorrow. It's going to be quite a second round here because if you're the Scrap Runners, I mean, come on, you don't want to go silently into the night here. You want to try and lock in and give yourself the ability to come back and compete tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's say, Scrap Runners, I think you guys got this round. Don't end up in that recycling bin. I think you guys got this. You guys need to work on that offensive play more, that defensive play. I feel like when I was watching that, Bob, a lot of people were just grabbing onto each other. But let's see how this next game goes as the ball is ready for kickoff.
And here we go, getting ready for the kickoff, and off it goes into round number 2, what could be the last round for the Scrap Runners if they cannot find an early goal, and they do, as the Scrap Runners claim their first point. Peanuts looking to throw the Rhinos off their game a little bit. Very aggressive start. Random CBH has to correct their path and get the ball back. Good tackles, though. They managed to keep it in the possession of the Rhinos. Tossed back over to Blood Moon to reset it back to center court. Kicking it back outside where Dynamic Dire is going to stay up in the sky. But they're in a fight with Ganja, who sends it right back to blank user VR. But good tackle disrupts the path a little bit more. Pebbles keeps it up in the sky, and this could be Scrap Runner's shot at a second point. But it's a bit out of position as Random CBH will intercept the ball, and they've done a lot of work passing the ball around, but our Rhinos are starting to get one over on Scrap Runners.
Looks like Peanut here is taking possession, but oh, just gets snatched right there by Mr. Random. Gonna be throwing that straight up on the clock. Would that be a pass? It's gonna be a pass directly to the other team. They're just finding a way to control this ball under here. Looks like it is gonna be the battle under.
Oh!
Right oh!
Wow. Look at that. What a shot from the Rhinos. Long shot on the Scrap Runners' goal to tie it up. There's plenty of time left in this round still, but Scrap Runners are going to be feeling the pressure a little bit more. They got that early score, and that made them comfortable, but you really don't want to let your guard down against the Rhinos, especially this late into the competition. Scrap Runners have the potential to get this back in their hands. Peanut tossing it over to Tony Go. Oh, what a shot, but it's intercepted by Dynamic Dire. That's why you always keep somebody close to your goal, because that shot would have gone right in.
Defensive is the name of the game, Bob. All right, looks like they are throwing that down to the midfield play. Could this be? The ball is rolling, but it's just going to get intercepted there, saying, no, we got to defend that goal. But Peanut is taking possession of the ball, trying to throw that down. In the intercept, almost getting that in. Oh! Rambling into that goal.
Scrap Runners, quick to let our Rhinos know that they're not very happy about what transpired in round number 1. They keep the lead in this game. Time is ticking down, leaving the Rhinos looking a little bit desperate for another score to tie up this game. Peanut, again, playing aggressively. They've really been kind of the star of tackling and playing really aggressive on their team. Nice ceiling car from Dynamic Dire as the Rhinos are working it back down the field, but it's intercepted by Pebbles up in the halo, shot on goal, passed over to their teammate, but they were just out of position. Ganja sends it back to Pebbles, who sends it close to the goal, but it's intercepted by a Rhinos. And a mess of tackling and metal clanking leaves blank user VR with the ball up in the nest, but they're tackled by Tony Go, and what a save by Scrap Runners.
They are taking possession. Dynamic is taking possession of the ball right here, but it's just going to get snatched right there by Peanut. Just trying to get that control. Peanut does get control. Going to be chucking that down. Will that be a pass? We pass right back to Tony with a brilliant ceiling carve right there on the halo. Could this be a pass right to his teammate? But no, it gets snatched as they're rushing to the other side. They're going to throw that down. It's going to put the geometry there. It's not going to work in their favor. Just bouncing off the geometry. They're trying to take control here. But could they be rushing this up? Gonna check that in. Rushing like rhinos.
The Rhinos threading the needle to tie up this game with just about a minute left on the clock, Retro. So it's getting tense in here. Remember, the Rhinos have already won their first game in this best of 3. The Scrap Runners are now feeling the pressure to score, to get around in against the Rhinos. Otherwise, they are going to be out of this series. Up on the halo, Pebbles, nice tackle, throws the ball into a frenzy, and in the bunker, there's a double team on random. Pebbles collects the ball, keeping it up in center court with a potential pass to their teammates, but they're losing control of the ball. I think they might be running out of a little bit of boost, and they send it, but it's over into the hands of the Rhinos, and a nice double stack. But good block from Peanut keeps this ball in center.
They're going to be taking possession. He's going to be chucking that into, but just gets saved by Blood Moon. Blood Moon's just booming that straight down the field. Going to get catch by Mr. Tony right here as he's going to just swoop that into his teammate. Going to Pebbles, going to Peanut. Oh, almost in. Just scrambling the ball up there towards Clock. Everybody's rushing towards that ball.
And Peanut is going to emerge as the one holding it, and I think this next score could determine the game, Retro, as it's across the court. Oh my goodness, it's in! And the Rhinos take the series win over the Scrap Runners with a last-second Hail Mary shot to the other side of the arena. What a way to continue, or to end the series.
Brilliant game. The Rhinos rushing in like rhinos that game. Like I've been saying, great tackle play, great defensive play from Scrap Runners. They had some goals that game. They did good. Both teams did good defensively and offensively. I think some of them I think the Scrap Runners did just lose their guard there by that end of that game. But just the Rhinos doing great, just taking that W, Bob.
It was a really fun game to watch between those two teams, a nail-biter at the end, for sure. And it was, incredible effort by the Rhinos. That's going to continue and put them with a, I believe, 3-2 win-loss ratio, and Scrap Runners are going to be 2-3. So unfortunate for Scrap Runners, because I do believe that has ended their stint here in this Pioneer Cup. But hey, you win some, you lose some. There's always the ignition, right? And the Rhinos are going to move through. They're going to be 3-2, so they have a shot if they can pull off a good final 6th round here. Now, we do have one more game in our arena, but we're going to have to see if that's concluded or not. If it hasn't, we'll be back in just a few minutes. But if it has, well, you'll see us very soon in the 6th and final round of the Pioneer Cup Day 1. Who would have thought it would have come 2 weeks after we originally planned it to? But hey, we're here, and it's been an incredible evening of Orion Drift. So don't go anywhere. We will be back very soon. All right, welcome everybody, and this is a good time to close down our stream here. We're running out of teams to cast, so Retrocrat and I are gonna go and move up to the big leagues, the mainstream, where we'll close out the rest of this tournament and get some exciting new games in there. So big thanks to Retro for joining me here on C-Stream. Big thanks to all of you as well for joining me. It's been a lot of incredible action. We're still not done yet. We still have one more round, but we're just going to go ahead and join the one and only Nightfire for that final game. So big thanks to everybody. Make sure you tune in at the same time tomorrow, 6 p.m. EST for day 2. That's going to start with the round robin. It's going to transition into the semifinals, and then we're going to end everything with the best of 7 grand finals. It will be a very, very fun day of Orion Drift action, and one that you certainly do not want to miss. So I highly recommend going and checking that out. But again, thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you all in the next cast on the mainstream. But that is going to do it for C. So have a fantastic rest of your night, everybody.
Orion Drift VRML is brought to you by Another Axiom, Helga, the esports manager. Thanks for watching VRML.